folks who've been following Atwater's journey so far, and they're aware of his relationship with his father, will viewers like myself be surprised by where father and son, their dynamic, how it unfolds that episode? Will we be surprised by where they end up?
One of the boys your father knows.
My father. I just help out the kids on the block.
Why would your father be in that bar?
On May 3rd, we see the bleed valve, right? And we're going to feel good about their potential. I think that's going to be the last time we see him this season. It obviously informs the way Atwater is able to carry himself throughout the rest of the season, because there's something like a little bit of weight that's been lifted off of his shoulders. You know, there's always a lot, right? So he's spread thin with being a landlord, and he's the only one doing most of the stuff. He doesn't trust his dad enough to help him out, so he's putting it all on himself. And then something tragic happens, and now it's especially all on him, because he has to help his building not be the compromised crime scene of the neighborhood. You know, he has to be in the middle of the unit, who's family, and his father, who was family. And so we find him having to balance out so many things at the same time, while also trying to save a life and solve a case. The way I knew I had to approach this episode was by embracing all the imperfections. You know, I read the script and realized that Atwater didn't have cameras that worked in the back. I realized that him and his dad was still kind of getting into it, didn't really trust him that much. You know, I'm learning things on the fly about what my dad is doing around here at the same time. You know, and I don't even know if you got to this part yet, but you know, Ocean not around. It's a lot at the same time, but you can only embrace your imperfections one mistake at a time.
Right on.
So we see him pick up this episode extremely human, in landlord mode, not expecting for anything dark to happen, and then all of a sudden it pops off, and he responds the way a human will. But over time, you see the hero come out, and that was the story that we wanted to tell.
For people coming into this brand new, so like I will publish this article, and let's say some fans of yours or some fans of the series, they're not fully caught up, right? Or perhaps they don't know the backstory between Atwater and his dad. How would you describe their dynamic in this particular episode coming up on May 3rd?
Yeah, I would describe the dynamic as needing work. You know what I'm saying? When we first see them, they're a father and son that, you know, even though they're under the same roof, most of the time, there's still miscommunication, and there's still missed communication. And communication is a love skill that these brothers need to work on. Patience is another love skill that I think they learn through each other. Trust, another love skill that they need to improve. So hopefully what the audience sees is a very authentic version of a father-son relationship that needs a little work, that's on its way to finding balance. But where we pick it up at the beginning of the episode is not there yet. And the goal is by the end of the episode for us to see the potential on the way.
Yeah, that's so obvious that when the episode starts, you can tell Atwater just wants nothing. He's kind, he's cordial, but he doesn't want that bond. He doesn't want the relationship. You almost feel like, man, he treats Pops like the wicked stepchild, right? So I want to know, why does Atwater find it so challenging to heal this relationship, to build this bond, to establish trust with his dad?
Yeah, because, you know, he's for 20 years had to navigate manhood without his dad. He's had to figure things out on his own, or he's had to identify other father figures to pick up positive and powerful patterns from, right? And so there's a part of him, and this part of him I think lives in his ego, that doesn't know how to let that go. Doesn't know how to let go of the history you know, that turned him into the man that he is. Because I'm not sure if he's been convinced yet that only by letting that go will he be able to go to the next level of growth. You know, the next level of manhood, the next level of responsibility. Atwater has goals of being a detective one day so he can protect and serve at a higher level. But there's no way in the world we can expect to trust you with those types of responsibilities if in your personal life you've yet to let go of, you know, the things that are burdening you and holding you back. So Atwater's doing his best, you know what I'm saying? And I think he's grateful for the cases that help him figure those things out, you know? And so it's not easy and it's usually uncomfortable, but he's getting more comfortable being uncomfortable.
You know what I was wondering as I was watching the scenes with you and the actor who plays your dad, I was wondering how men who watch this episode, who watch this particular episode, who maybe don't have that bond, that closeness with their father, maybe they are like Atwater on the cusp of building that trust. I'm wondering what they'll take away from this episode, what they will take away from these two men. And on that note, I'd like to throw that to you. Like, what do you hope, young Black men especially, who may not have the best relationship with their dad, what do you hope they take away or learn from Atwater and his dad in this episode?
Yeah, I hope they learn that that they got to give each other grace. I think it starts with themselves. You know what I'm saying? Atwater learns how to give himself grace through this case. You know, and when we offer ourselves grace, obviously, it's easier to offer for anybody else. The way that Atwater had to embrace his imperfections, and like I said, be more comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the only way you grow, you know? And so I think first and foremost, the best thing that Atwater did have in his heart, or does have in his heart, is the desire to improve the relationship. You know, we don't always know exactly how, we don't always know when, nor is there a time frame that's like perfect to make it happen within. It's just, it starts with the desire. And then when you see the opportunity or the window open up, you got to be willing to lean in. And hopefully fathers and sons see Atwater and Lou lean in the windows that they have. You know what I'm saying? There's obviously missed moments and missed communication, but when they have the opportunity to rectify it, they do. There's a lot of tough love in this episode, which was that was my favorite part. What me and Eric LaRoyce wanted to make sure we did was show something real. You know, nothing right, nobody's wrong, but what's the real? You know, and we were able to have conversations that helped us learn about each other's relationships with our own fathers. You know what I'm saying? And we were able to identify things that were similar about the patterns that we grew up with. And then we applied them to the story. And we were like, oh man, yeah, this feels real to us. And, you know, everybody might not be going through exactly what Atwater and Lou were going through, but hopefully it feels real enough for you to relate so that everybody can still learn something.
And on that note, my very last question for you is, you know, over the course of the years, you and I have talked a handful of times about your character on the show. And each time you always share like an anecdote or something a very fond memory between yourself and your son, right? So I'm wondering, when you were filming this episode, reading the script, kind of occupying Atwater's headspace to, you know, to take on this case and work with his dad, did you pull from or draw from your own experiences as a father and the bond that you have with your own son to kind of help you fully inform Atwater for this particular episode?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Young Roman John pops up and helps out almost every time, you know. One of the things that for the whole season, not just this episode in particular, obviously I think this episode was informed by what I was able to learn from Roman John this season, but just playing with him and interacting with him, I was reminded of how important it is for us to take our play seriously. You know, take our play seriously. Sometimes I get so caught up in wanting to be the father that I pull my camera phone out and I start trying to capture the moments that me and Roman John are sharing with each other, because I might feel like it's so cute, but it's so dope. And I just want to hold on to the moment. And oftentimes he catches me and he reminds me to stay locked in. Every time he sees me pull my phone out, it honestly aggravates him a little bit. And he'll be like, Dad, like, what are you doing? We're playing. It's time to play. And you have to take your play seriously. I remember being a little homie when I was Roman John's age. He just made 6, by the way. When I was 6 years old, I was gonna be a Ninja Turtle. You understand me now, McGee? Because nobody stopped me from being a Ninja Turtle from time I woke up until time dinner was served. I was Michelangelo. And if you wanted to hop in my world and communicate with me, you had to get in there. Otherwise, I'm Michelangelo. And Roman John has those moments as well. When we're playing, he's locked in, you know what I'm saying? And he can be pretty commanding, you know what I'm saying, as a playmate. He wants you to do the voice. He wants you to stay active and keep running with him, you know what I'm saying? If you're not wearing the right thing, he gonna tell you to change the clothes, you know what I'm saying? It's all kind of stuff. And I'm like, wow, I have to remember to take my play just as seriously. So when I go to work and I over-imagine what's going on in Atwater's headspace, I gotta be just that locked in, you know? And so Roman John set a tone, you know, that I think affected the whole season for me. So that's why I'm grateful for that little boy.